And our second main topic today gets submitted to us by Geeky Gator. And Geeky Gator is in here and he's telling us, hey, John and gang, the head of the National Association of Theater Owners, John Fithian, recently said that studios should start releasing their new movies despite the fact that they will make less money because they will all have big holes in their balance sheets if they don't. Do you think studios should start rolling out their films in an untraditional approach, or is this a biased statement from Fithian? All right, thanks a lot for sending that in, man. And yes, for those of you who don't know what he's talking about, John Fithian, he is the head honcho of the Organization of Theater Owners. They're called NATO, North American Theater Owners. So that represents everything from the big major theatrical chains, Regal, Cinemark, AMC, things like that, all the way down to smaller theater owners, like even mom and pop theater owners. A whole bunch of them belong to this NATO thing. John Fithian is kind of their head guy, and he's their main spokesperson. Now, we know, we just talked the other day about the fact that Tenet has been, bumped off the release schedule again. Right now, there's no new release date announced. They're still saying they're going to release it in 2020. Some people are doubting that. But Fithian, the head of NATO, was asked about this specifically. And yeah, he's basically saying he believes it is a mistake for studios to be delaying the releases of their big movies right now. He said, now the studios have been great partners with us. They've stayed very much in communication with us. They always let us know what they're thinking. We knew about them delaying Tenet long before they made it public. They've been great partners, but we think they're making a mistake. And here's his rationale, and it's not bad. But Fithian's rationale is this. Distributors should stick with their dates and release their movies because there's no guarantee that more markets will be open later this year. Until there's a vaccine that's widely available, there will not be 100% of the markets open. Because of that, films should be released in markets where it is safe and legal to release them, and that's about 85% of the markets in the US and even more globally. They should release their movies and deal with this new normal. Studios may not make the same amount of money that they did before, but if they don't start distributing films, there's going to be a big hole in their balance sheets. This is a $42 billion a year business. Most businesses would take 85% of that instead of zero, which will be what happens if they wait for all the markets to open up. Now, once again, he also was very clear in saying, hey, we're not against the theaters or the studios. They've been great partners. We appreciate that we have such open lines of communication, but make no mistake, we feel it is a mistake for them not to open these movies where and when they're available and able to be open. Now, one of the things that Robert Meyer Burnett often reminds us about is that you make movies, I should say, even the big studios. You make movies with borrowed money. And the longer your movie sits, and we're talking about money in the tens, sometimes hundreds of millions. And the longer you wait for these movies to be released, the more and more interest starts accumulating on those debts. And it becomes more and more of a burden, increasing the amount of money you need to make on these movies as you move forward and as you move along. In the situation like Tenet, I mean, it's an expensive movie. Tenet is like over a $200 million movie. Some saying upwards of $250 million movie. That's going to be expensive to just sit on. That's going to be expensive to just sit on and not do anything with. So the question arises, should they, if there's a lot of theaters open come, the end of July, if 80% or 85% of the markets in the United States are open and available and ready to, open movies, wouldn't it be smarter, John Fithian suggests, wouldn't it be smarter for those studios to release those movies in the markets that are open and at least make that money back right now, rather than sitting on the debt waiting for a day that right now you don't know how long you got to wait? I personally don't know where I fall on this. With all the movie theaters being closed, I don't know where I fall on this. Like, for instance, right now, obviously 85% of theaters are not open. Regal and AMC, they all said they're going to be opening their theaters at the end of July. I don't know if they're still going to open at the end of July with the fact that, there's no new movies to show later in August. As of right now, I think Mulan hasn't officially been pulled yet, but I expect it'll be pulled unless Disney does decide, you know what? If we can open our movies in 80% of markets right now, that's better for us. Because if we can open it in 80% of the US markets and open it in China, because I believe the runtime of Mulan is under 3 hours or under 2 hours. I believe the runtime is under 2 hours. So if that's the case, let's go ahead and release it. Let's go ahead and release it, get that money, and we'll deal with everything else later. I honestly don't know what the right approach is. I can see where the movie theaters are coming from saying, hey, listen, this is the new reality, guys. It's not about to get better in 5 weeks, but we've got a situation right now where we can open in about 80 to 85% of the markets. Let's take advantage of it, guys. I can see where they're coming from, but I can also see where the studios are coming from saying, this is such uncertain times. We want to play it safer. So, I think there's different ways of looking at it. Question is for you guys. What do you think about the comments from NATO on this? Do you think the studios are making a mistake delaying? Because really right now, they don't have an idea when they can even open it. Do you think they're digging themselves too much into a hole? Or do you think the studios are doing the right thing right now by delaying a bit? What do you think about this? Jump into the comments section below and let me know your thoughts. All right, guys.